A very good evening all. I am Aditi Lamba with the Wednesday night edition of South Asian News, Vision of Asia. We are coming to you from our studio in New York City. Welcome to the show. Let's begin by taking a look at the coronavirus pandemic. Globally, we are looking at 78.4 million cases of the coronavirus with at least 7.1 million deaths. In the United States, we are at more than 18.3 million cases of COVID-19 with at least 324,000 deaths. Another 3,401 deaths were recorded just yesterday, making it the second highest in record, and it's the fifth time where deaths have surpassed 3,000 currently. The nation for the first time reported more than 19,000 deaths in a 7-day period. Quite shocking and sobering. As the holidays approach, the country is reporting record high number of COVID-19 hospitalizations and surge in new cases and deaths. Hence, experts are pleading Americans to not gather together during the upcoming Christmas holiday this weekend in fears of a great surge in cases after the holiday season is over. Meanwhile, on vaccines, Pfizer and BioNTech have announced a second agreement with the U.S. government to supply additional 100 million doses of the company's vaccine, bringing the total number of doses to be delivered by July 2021 to 200 million. So far, more than 600,000 vaccines have been administered and given to healthcare professionals, along with long-term care facilities and some public officials. In politics, President Trump still has not conceded to President-elect Joe Biden, who is continuing to fill his seats in his upcoming cabinet. This is happening while the COVID-19 relief package passed by the Congress awaits approval from President Trump. This package aims to provide aid to those who have been hit hard by this pandemic, including stimulus checks for every American. So how will the U.S. government uplift the economic crisis while handling the massive project of vaccine awareness and distribution? We speak tonight with doctors, politicians, political commentators, and more. Here are the headlines. Dr. Tushar Patel urges all to stay disciplined and follow CDC guidelines. COVID-19 updates, New Jersey. Veteran journalist Rohit Vyas on Biden-Harris transition process and U.S. economy, New Jersey. Celebrations presents Diwali 2020 virtual extravaganza featuring New York Lieutenant Governor Kathleen Hochul. It's time for a short break on Vision of Asia South Asian News segment. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I am Aditi Lamba and this is Vision of Asia, Wednesday night episode of South Asian News. Let's begin by taking a look at the coronavirus pandemic's measures as well as updates. Experts are warning Americans again to not travel for Christmas this week, as the latest COVID-19 surge has left hospitals struggling to find beds for the sick, and political leaders are imposing restrictions to curb new infections, making for a grim holiday season. Many U.S. states and cities have already imposed lockdowns and business closure to try to get a handle on the wave of illness. Current epicenter, the state of California, are reaching capacity for its beds and intensive care units and are lacking doctors as well as nurses. Meanwhile, inoculations of COVID-19 vaccines continue to roll out, focused on vaccinating the frontline healthcare workers as well as long-term care facilities. Also, a new, even more contagious variant of coronavirus quickly spreading across the UK is causing fear here, with dozens of nations already banning travel from the United Kingdom. U.S. Health Secretary has said that the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine and the Moderna vaccine should work against the new variant, and the companies have expressed confidence in tackling this new variant as well. So where are we headed this holiday season and how should we protect ourselves? We have another segment of our conversation with expert Dr. Tushar Patel. He told all to stay disciplined. Here is Dr. Tushar Patel. What's your prediction for the next couple of weeks, especially going into January? Will we reach 20 million cases? We are already at 18.1.
20 million cases, and I suspect we will have close to 100,000 more deaths between now and end of March. Wow. Within next 3 months. If we don't take the precautions right now and follow the guidelines of the public health, I think we will have some sombering number coming up by end of March.
Dr. Patel, just to again assert this more and raise awareness, could you tell us why is it so important for us to wear a mask right now? How crucial is this to curbing the disease?
So mask is the only effective way to reduce the spread. And not only the mask, Mask does not protect you fully, but social distancing. Keep yourself 6 feet away from other people. This is a droplet spread. So if you come into contact with someone who is close to 6 feet and cough or sneeze and touch the surfaces, you will definitely get that COVID-19 in your system. So you want to avoid the public places if it all possible. Also, if you are in the public places, you want to wear the mask. Mask is very, very effective and it's a must. And other thing, like we have been telling people, wash your hands, avoid public places, don't do indoor gatherings. All those things are very, very crucial at this point within next coming 3 to 4 months.
Parts of the nation are going into lockdown situations. We are hearing, in the state of California, there are big restrictions right now just to curb the disease. Do you think we will have an issue of a shutdown in the next 2 months because of these holiday gatherings, because of this travel, because of people not adhering to CDC guidelines? What's your opinion?
Don't need to have the shutdown, but I think people need to take this very, very seriously and sincerely. Avoid the public gatherings, avoid travel if at all possible. Keep the family gatherings just for the immediate family. Avoid indoor gatherings if at all possible. Keep safe social distance, wear mask. If we all do that, we don't have to shut down. We know how to tackle this COVID-19 pandemic, how to manage the pandemic, and we don't have to shut anything down. But if we reach that point, just like we had back in March and April, we may have to shut down depending on how we do it during this Christmas holidays.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully we don't come to that level. It was very devastating to see what the impact of a shutdown was in the country. Let's now dig into the biggest news of this week, obviously, which is the vaccines. My first question to you is, now we have the Moderna vaccine. We were before having Pfizer BioNTech vaccine. How are you comparing the two vaccines? Today, Dr. Anthony Fauci received the first dose of his Moderna vaccine. And, we have seen other officials and doctors and nurses across the country get their first dose of the Pfizer vaccine. How are you looking at those two?
My recommendation for the vaccine, both vaccines are similarly effective. As whatever vaccine you have the access first, you should get it. There is no differentiating point of Pfizer vaccine or Moderna vaccine. There is no preference in the medical opinion. So whichever vaccine is available, because not all states are getting the Pfizer vaccines first or the Moderna vaccine first. So whatever the access state has and the health officials has the access, you should get that vaccine and don't wait for the company or other vaccines come later. So my recommendation is to take the vaccine as soon as it is available. It doesn't matter what vaccine is coming first to you.
We have now a story on Diwali 2020, one of the major Indian festivals which is celebrated by Hindus, Jains and Sikhs all across the globe. Also known as the Festival of Lights, Diwali sends in a message of unity as well as humanity, while also emphasizing the significance of triumph of good over evil, light over darkness, and much more. It's celebrated with much enthusiasm, comprising of several traditions and rituals such as diya lighting, fireworks, prayer decorations, and much more. This year, with coronavirus pandemic impacting all communities, the celebrations were surely different, more intimate with the immediate family or through a virtual medium. On that, recently, Celebration presented a virtual extravaganza to commemorate the Festival of Lights Diwali 2020, with several officials and community leaders addressing South Asian Americans on Diwali. The virtual event saw New York Lieutenant Governor Kathleen Hochul, along with Consul General of India, New York, Mr. Ranjit Jaiswal, U.S. Congressman Sozi, ITV Gold's Chairman Dr. Sudeep Parekh, among others. We have tonight some highlights from the virtual event showcasing South Asian cultural heritage as well as art forms. Here is the story.
Hello, my name is Ujwala, and it's a great honor and a great pleasure for me to welcome you on behalf of Celebrations. Celebrations, as we know, celebrates the Festival of Light every year. Unfortunately, this year, we're not able to celebrate in person. However, we are here celebrating on Zoom. So I'm really happy, thankful that all of you have joined together today to celebrate the Festival of Lights.
I want to share two stories of Diwali. It's very, very well known, but it's worth sharing because it brings out the spirit of Diwali. One story is about when Bhagwan Shri Lord Ram came back to his kingdom Ayodhya after being in exile for 14 years with his wife Mata Sita and his brother Lakshman. When he returned, the entire city, after hearing that he was victorious in slaying the evil demon Ravan, who had kidnapped his wife and caused havoc all around, his victory and his return to his kingdom was the most joyous, exuberant celebration for the people of Ayodhya. They were waiting desperately for him to return. So what did they do while they waited? They decorated the entire kingdom beautifully with colors, and they took earthen lamps and put the lights all over the kingdom so that Sri Ram, Ma Sita, Lakshman, Hanuman, and their entourage could see that they were welcoming them back home. Similarly, we welcome you to this Diwali celebration.
Almost a month back, we celebrated Diwali with a lot of fun and fanfare with our friends and families here in the US, in India, and across the world. Diwali was an occasion for us to celebrate our togetherness and our oneness. In continuation of the festivity, I am delighted that Madam Upa Sengupta is bringing this beautiful cultural gala, a cultural festival to all of us, to yet again celebrate the colors of Diwali. I hope you all will enjoy this show and will have a good time. Thank you very much.
Diwali is a reminder that light is a beautiful force that will always prevail over darkness and evil. This year, in some moments, we've seen more darkness than light. And yet, in this pandemic, New Yorkers have embodied the very spirit of Diwali. Goodness and light have triumphed over darkness and uncertainty many times. We have seen that light, like the essential workers who carried on with their jobs every single day, despite the risks to themselves. New Yorkers wearing masks and socially distancing from loved ones. Every single person acting out of selflessness to ensure the safety while protecting one another.
This particular year has been very challenging with the pandemic of COVID-19. However, as we celebrate Diwali, this festival of light, celebrating light over darkness, good over evil, intelligence over ignorance, we can all contemplate and realize that the worst is behind us and the best is ahead of us.
যদি কেউ কথা না কয় ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা কেউ কথা না কয় যদি সবাই থাকে মুখ ফেরায় সবাই করে ভয় যদি সবাই থাকে মুখ ফেরায় সবাই করে ভয় তবে পরাণ খুলে ও তুই মুখ ফুটে তোর মনের কথা একলা বলো রে ও তুই মুখ ফুটে তোর মনের কথা একলা বলো রে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে।
Diwali is a special time for friends and family. It is a time of celebration and auspicious reflection for all. Let us give thanks and rejoice on this blessed occasion and celebrate by spreading joy and continuing to light up the world of others. Just like the colors of the Rangoli, let each diya you light illuminate your life and fill it with happiness and contentment. May the divine light of Diwali bring you good health, and may you have a wonderful year filled with good health, peace, prosperity, and happiness. May God fulfill all of your wishes. Happy Diwali.
During the peak of COVID-19 in New York, our first responders were experiencing a shortage of personal protective equipment, and we want to do our part during these times.
For weeks, my brother and I worked day and night to modify and optimize the printing of face shields using our 3D printer. We were fortunate that the first responders accepted all the face shields that were made, and it meant the world to see a smile on their faces. Before we transition to the next item, let us pause for a moment of silence for those who have lost lives during this pandemic and offer prayers for recovery to those who are suffering.
Dear friends, on behalf of Parikh Worldwide Media and ITV Gold, I am Dr. Sudhir Parikh. Would like to wish you happy and prosperous Diwali to you all and your family. This is a very auspicious days in our life, so we should be very united. The world should be very in harmony, and we should help each other, particularly those who are less privileged than us. So again, wish you all the best, wish you happy holidays and happy Diwali. Thank you. God bless you. I love you all.
Namaste and happy Diwali to all of my friends. This most important celebration every year, we celebrate the triumph of light over darkness, of good over evil. I wish all of my friends a happy, healthy New Year, a happy Diwali, and great success and goodness for you and your families for the year ahead. Happy Diwali.
It's time for the short break on Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. I am Aditi Lama and this is Vision of Asia, South Asian News segment. Let's now take a look at the U.S. politics and ongoing transition process of the incoming Biden-Harris administration. President-elect, in an address to the nation, has urged all to remain vigilant over the holidays as the pandemic ravages parts of the nation and has called for bipartisanship to battle COVID-19. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump refuses to concede this election even after results being affirmed by the Electoral College. Today, President-elect Joe Biden introduced his new nominee to lead the Education Department, Miguel Cardona, as someone trusted with the experience to reopen schools safely during the COVID-19 pandemic. Along with that, the president-elect has also asked the Congress to provide funding for more testing as well as safety equipment such as ventilation and funding for teachers as a part of his agenda for the first 100 days of his incoming administration. Meanwhile, the new COVID relief package awaits President Trump's approval, making it difficult for the people who require immediate aid or resources, especially in communities of colors. So how should we analyze this transition process and what will be the impact of this new aid package? We have tonight a segment of our conversation with ITV Gold's senior political commentator, Mr. Rohit Vyas. Here is the story. The long-awaited COVID-19 response from the Congress. Finally, we have a resolution, we have a package that is going to cater to a lot of the needs that have been impacted by COVID-19. It is a $900 billion package that they have come up with. My question to you is, do you think it's enough for the entire country? And do you think the way they've allocated these funds is also right?
No, it's not enough. It's obviously not going to be enough, but it's the only way they could push through something in a bipartisan manner. As you know, there was a bipartisan group of senators that worked on this and came up with a compromise package. And that's basically what this is, a compromise package. Most important, the key figure over which they had this big stumbling block and remains, that stumbling block remains, is funding for the states, for the individual states. I mean, states are in dire, precarious financial condition. And the states had asked for federal assistance. And I think I explained it to you in the last segment, where the federal government is the only one that can come forth with mammoth amounts of money in a crisis situation like we have and find ourselves in now. So that has not happened. What they've done is put together a patchwork deal for the moment to rescue the average worker out there whose unemployment benefits, the federal unemployment benefits, will run out the day after Christmas. And so they want to put some money in the pockets of those people. The stimulus checks are half the amount they were previously, but it's something, which is better than nothing, as the saying goes. The Republicans were resistant to giving out the same amount of money that they had earlier which was $1,200 an individual and $2,400 for a couple, and then more for each dependent in the family. Now you've got $600 per individual earning up to $75,000, and $1,200 for a couple earning up to $150,000 total, and then $600 each for dependent children in the household under the age of 18. So that should help tide over at least a couple of weeks, I think. Airlines got some kind of a deal through this package. Some people in the hospitality industry, but not the entire thing. There was no major rescue for restaurants, I believe, in this package, which is a major problem. The restaurants are the ones suffering the most in this economy. And so basically, it's just a patchwork of stuff to keep it going for the time. It's a Band-Aid approach, if you will. Basically, I think it's a Band-Aid approach. I think as soon as the Biden administration is sworn in, the then President Biden will probably want to have another stimulus deal passed through Congress, which is going to be very tough. The Republicans have already made it very clear that they're not really agreeable to such measures, and I'm sure that they don't want to make the Democratic president look too good, although he can reach out across the aisle.
Do you think the funding for schools is enough in this?
No, it's not going to be enough for that either. It's going to require a lot more. Don't forget that Congress, when they passed the bill earlier in May, the second CARES Act, which this effectively is now, they had allocated $2.2 trillion. $2.2 trillion. So that's a lot of money, and this is $900 billion, so it's under $1 trillion, right? It's short of $100 million to become $1 trillion, and it's just $900 billion, so it's definitely not going to be enough. This pandemic, people think, are hoping it'll end very soon next year. It's not. We're going to be stuck with it for a while. We have vaccines in the pipeline.
Right.
I know you'll be discussing this further with other guests and even maybe with me. A lot of that is happening, but this pandemic and its consequences, financial consequences, are going to be with us for a couple of years down the road.
So do you think we will need a system of stimulus checks for, say, the next year?
I'd say so, yes. I think there'd have to be more stimulus for the rest of the year, next year, in my opinion. I'm not claiming to be a major economic expert by any means, but it's basically common sense. There are a lot of people who are not going to get back those jobs. A lot of them have been lost permanently. I've been hearing as we speak now that probably over 800,000 more people have filed for unemployment again.
Right.
And we don't yet have a confirmation of that, but the situation is getting very bad. Those are first-time unemployment applications, by the way, which means the economy is teetering on the brink of not collapse, but destabilization. And so we do need enormous fiscal stimulus to stabilize the economy for the near term and for the longer term. This next year is going to be very difficult. It's not going to be easy.
Right.
I'm optimistic the vaccines will begin to work, but it takes time to develop that herd immunity. And then it's not just the United States, it's going to be the rest of the world. So there is a ripple effect of the economy globally, which then helps us, which in turn helps others around the world, and in turn makes us a happy global economic family. It's going to take time, and I think stimulus is going to have to be done here.
Right.
It's going to have to be done in Europe. It's going to have to be done in Asia and down under in Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa, in the African continent.
Well, this wraps up our show for tonight. Please send us your suggestions and get your voices and organizations on our show. Email us on events@itvgold.com or follow us on Facebook at itvgold. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch many of our popular shows for free. Thank you for joining us tonight from Queens, New York. This is Vision of Asia, and I am Aditi Lamba. Take care and be well.